Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Jason, Truth Authority, of course, here. I'm excited to do this live today on the YouTube platform. That's right. And we're going to discuss none other than Charlie Kirk, right? Supposedly, he got shot and was unalived, killed. Do you believe that? Do you really believe that? We're going to get into it, my friends, because I don't believe he was unalived. We're going to connect the dots, my friends. It was all theater, all staging, in my opinion. And my message seems to be resonating with a lot of people over on TikTok. I got over 100,000 views from 2 days ago, my friends. Yes, discussing Charlie Kirk, that I think he's gone out the back door, just like an Epstein, my friends. Charlie Kirk, I think it's almost unquestionable. I think he was an intelligence asset. You know, this guy, was he really a change agent? Do you think he was a change agent? Do you think he really wanted to change the world? I don't think so. Now, as I said on TikTok, he had some interesting discussions. I'll give him that. But was he really a change agent, my friends? If he was, let me ask you something. Why didn't he discuss the U.S. Bill of Rights, the amazing, powerful, miraculous legislation in the United States, the U.S. Bill of Rights? If you're a change agent, you got to discuss the U.S. Bill of Rights, everyone. Many other sovereign nations have adopted those amazing values that came out of the U.S. Bill of Rights, right? The First, Second Amendment in particular, but many other aspects. But Charlie Kirk was mum on it. And we'll get into more of what Charlie Kirk was mum on, okay, in a moment. Official Bubbly says, yes, TikTok, that's right. I got over 100,000 views from 2 days ago, my friends. It's called, I'm over there at Jason Truth Authority. I hope you follow me. I need more followers. Even though I got over 100,000 views 2 days ago, not even 2 days ago, I think, it doesn't seem to equate in a lot more followers. I'm not even at 3,000 followers. How is that? With a video going. We're on YouTube today. I'm thankful to you amazing YouTubers. You look beautiful, by the way. Officially Bubbly. All right, she's trying to leave some comments here. Congrats, brother. Thank you, Officially Bubbly. I appreciate it very much. Very much. I should have set up, someone was saying I should have asked for a free coffee or something on TikTok over there. But again, back to you YouTubers. How many of you actually believe corporate, if you think Kirk was actually shot and unalived, you believe corporate media, and you believe the Trump administration, you believe the big memorial, right? It's got to be authentic. It's got to be real. Kirk was in a casket, 48 hours later or less? Where was the autopsy, folks? I ask you, where's the grave, right? And I get so excited because it's like what somebody said, that a friend of mine said, the wife, she claims, of course, that she didn't sleep well, the day after this brutal shooting, by the way, if you believe it's real. So she didn't sleep well, and yet she looked well rested, folks. And another person claimed that, I guess one of her pictures or something, it's not even her. So I'm a little confused on that, but she certainly did look well rested. My friends, in my opinion, I think Kirk, his so-called wife, I think she's an actress. She looks beautiful. And in my opinion, my friends, when you study the deep state, and I believe Kirk was a deep state actor. I think he was most likely working for the intelligence community. We've seen it play out, and I believe this extraction where he's deceived his followers because he's alive, my friends. There's no way. How can a bullet hit the neck? It would, as many people said, it would keep going. The bullet, a neck doesn't stop a bullet, my friends, right? And most likely, if you can look, there was a YouTuber I got invited on his show. I went on last minute to talk with him. Really nice guy. He was a black guy. He's seen people get shot with all kinds of different calibers. And he says, no, that's got to be a pellet. And he's probably right, my friends. And again, remember everyone, the deep state, they're very sophisticated. The feds often, they will have practiced this, my friends. Kirk, doesn't it look like it, my friends? The photos are going around. It looked like he had a blood pack on the top of his shirt, didn't it? Sure looks like it to me, everyone. And you can see what looks like tubes running underneath the shirt. And doesn't that make sense, my friends? If this was an extraction and a staging event, which I believe it was, you would need most certainly a blood pack on his shirt. Then you have a pellet, somebody with a pellet gun, you shoot the blood pack, blood, a certain amount of blood goes to the side. That's what we saw, my friends. And yet, as my friend Ellie and I, we did an interview, 2 interviews on Facebook and YouTube. It's on my YouTube, folks. She said it right. You know, there was no blood. There would be blood all over the people that grabbed his body. And guess what, my friends? The YouTuber, God, I forget his name. His first name's Aaron, but I forget his channel name. I'll get it for the next live, everyone. He had all the different camera angles of supposedly Kirk after he was shot. But he shows you there was a trap door. And probably, hopefully others have seen this. There was a trap door on the ground, my friends. Yes, under the grass. So what probably happened was that Kirk, supposedly, you know, he gets shot with this pellet or whatever the hell hit him. He goes through the trap door, and then they have somebody wearing almost the identical shirt, except the YouTuber shows you, everyone, the angle. There was no Freedom logo. The guy that they're actually handling, there's no Freedom logo as they're picking him up from the ground. So what does that tell you, everyone? That Kirk is gone out the back door, man. Isn't he? I mean, folks, it's all staging. It's all theater. Remember, the elite, some of these global financial predators, and even some of the feds, not all the feds, but they think you're so stupid, the public, the masses. They think they can brainwash you, mind control you, hoodwink you. Oh, believe it. We're going to shoot the blood pack and make you think Kirk, you know, is unalived. It's all horseshit, my friends. Just like when Trump got shot in the ear, supposedly. I showed he didn't get shot in the ear. Come on. Dr. Sheevan even said, you get shot in the head or you don't. He said, I could give you the mathematical probabilities of a bullet just grazing the ear. And your cartilage would be destroyed of your ear, folks. Come on. And, you know, and where was the, I mean, we could go on and on about that Trump fake assassination attempt. My friends, it's theater, 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 theater. Kirk, was he a Mossad agent? I gotta ask, my friends. Yeah, I gotta ask. Because he went to Israel 7 or 8 times. Now, he is a Christian. So apparently Christians go to Israel and kiss the walls. By the way, there's millions and millions of amazing people in Israel. They're great people overall, my friends. But when I talk anything negative about, if I say anything to do with Israel, say H-hop. But seriously, the people are great, my friends. I'm talking more the global financial predators, some of the elites out there, my friends. We know there's been a genocidal campaign at Gaza, okay, on the Palestinians by and large. And I bring this up to relate it back to Kirk. Did Kirk, he admitted he was pro-Israel all the way through, my friends. It was only the last few weeks, just before this so-called assassination, right, where he questioned Israel. He didn't condemn them or nothing. But he just asked the questions that his followers were asking, right, everyone? Which was, why are the Israelis killing all these innocent Palestinians? But apparently you can't have that because somebody pulled the plug on Kirk. But it doesn't mean he's actually DEA dead, my friends. It doesn't mean he was unalived, as YouTube likes to say. He's alive, in my opinion. And he's probably in New Zealand. As I've said before, everyone, you can look up USC code, code USC 31 WITSEC, WITEC. WITSEC stands for the Federal Witness Security Program in the United States. They have infrastructure all over the U.S., different places in Montana, again, where they relocate your identities, right, your names, etc. Is for confidential informants that have been compromised, for example, is to protect government officials, etc. Assets to the government, folks. And they have infrastructure. They literally have a WITSEC program in places like Puerto Rico. And I'm finding out, I got to verify, They have possibly a WITSEC program in New Zealand, my friends. Anybody can verify that? Please let me know if you can. Because isn't that interesting? Because the guy that, remember my friends, the young guy that we're supposed to believe did the shots and somehow killed Kirk, right? What is he, 22, 21 years old? The guy, there's pictures of him, he's standing in front of his computer, and it shows Goat Island in New Zealand, my friends. And Kash Patel told you. He said, said Kirk was his brother and all this. And then he said, Kirk, we'll see you in Valhalla. Meaning for Kirk, my friends. Valhalla. Well, Valhalla has different meanings apparently. But one of the locations of Valhalla is in New Zealand. Right, everyone? So is Kirk in New Zealand? I think he is, in my opinion. And he'll be well protected. He'll be living the life of a rich boy again. Wasn't he a rich boy most of his life? You see, Ellie, in our interview, she said that that Kirk's father helped build Trump Towers, folks. So Kirk is like this with Trump, remember? And he wore the shirt. Kirk didn't tell you that it was a fake assassination, which anybody with half a brain knows that, Trump wouldn't have got shot in the ear. When he went down, they would have put a blood pack on his ear. Again, my opinions, but I think the facts back it up, everyone. But did Kirk tell you the truth? No. Did Kirk tell you the truth about was he against the genocide that's been going on the last couple of years, my friends? Since the October, 23rd attack? Remember, and has Kirk ever told you that we know publicly, it's public knowledge, my friends. You don't have to take just my word for it, right? That Israel created Hamas. Anybody, again, with half a brain knows the hideous attack on Israel, unfortunately, but that it was a false flag. Even Kirk asked a few weeks before this shooting, my friends, he said, was this a government did the government have a stand down order? And he said that's a legitimate question. So again, my friends, but as I said on TikTok, folks, I don't see any more comments coming. Officially Bubbly, where is everybody else? What the hell's going on? Trying to give a like to Official Bubbly, and I can't even do that. What did I say on TikTok, folks? Oh, I said, and I'll say it here, folks, the most important thing in life is to tell the truth at the right time, right? And Dr. Shiva talks about this too. And to tell the truth at the right time and to the right people to mobilize change. Did Kirk do that, my friends? No, he didn't, I would argue. Because again, he was pro-Israel all this time. He didn't say anything about Israel, to stop, have the elites to stop slaughtering all these thousands and thousands and thousands of Palestinians. He was mum on it, my friends, till the longest time. And now the whole world knows what, Netanyahu and the rest of them have done. So again, everyone, it's about telling the truth at the right time. And was Kirk trying to mobilize a real movement, my friends? I would argue no. He wasn't trying to mobilize a real positive change in the United States or around the world. Because if he did, he would talk about the U.S. Bill of Rights, wouldn't he, my friends? I think the answer is yes. You got to talk about the U.S. Bill of Rights. Here in Canada, we have the amazing Canadian Bill of Rights, by the way. So anyway, I'm going to go soon, my friends. Maybe I'll end this live sooner. There's shows about 11 people on, but I don't see comments coming in. I'll try to wait a few more minutes to see if I can get more comments coming in. Thank you, Officially Bubbly. Teagues Bitter, also known as Katie, I believe, says, hey, Offie Laugh Out Loud. Not sure what that means. Thanks for being here, everyone. I really appreciate it. We're going to do more lives, hopefully, on YouTube. I want to give big thanks to, again, my amazing friend Ellie. We've done many interviews together now. Quite a few, I should say. And I want to thank her for her awesome editing, her creative genius for my YouTube channel. And I owe her big time. So I probably won't be able to get this live edited at all and add the amazing intro that she did for me, unfortunately. But we'll still upload this, hopefully. So again, everyone, Kirk is alive. There's no real concrete evidence to show that he was unalived. Well, otherwise, again, my friends, I mean, we could talk for hours. Why would they take the tent down if it was a real crime scene? If this wasn't staged, why would you take the tent down? Or sorry, yeah, why would you take the tent down, right? You'd have to do ballistics. There was no proper forensic investigation, my friends. And there never will be in any of these staged, so-called staged assassinations, the ones that are staged. And again, everyone, the feds can legally stage a violent event, particularly if a confidential informant's been compromised, and they just use USC Code 31, WITSEC, baby. Okay? And then that allows them to literally to seal records. So the guy that they arrested, this young kid, right? They'll have him in court supposedly, and they'll be able to seal records. The feds can literally do anything they want, my friends. And all this is done under national security, right? Using the Patriots Act as an exemption and using prosecutorial discretion as exemptions, my friends. This is a real reality, my friends. This is legal. But you never hear Nancy Grace or Ashley Banfield, or there's this Joshua who's got his own YouTube channel. He's a lawyer, right? From corporate media. He's got his own YouTube channel now. I forget what his channel is called. I think he's a joke, in my opinion. He doesn't tell you any of this, my friends. He should be providing truth and transparency. And Ellie and I, my friends, we know about staged assassinations, staged murders. We discussed the Idaho 4, where we connect the dots, and we believe all 4 students are alive, my friends. We're convinced. Because there's no evidence, absolutely none, to show those students were unalived back on November 13, 2022. But let's go back to Kirk, my friends. Well, if it was a real crime scene, why would you have the whole staging and everything? It's all cemented, isn't it, everyone? There's cement everywhere. It shows you it wasn't real. And the wife, I believe, you know what I think, my friends? I think the intelligence community set up the marriage of Kirk and his wife. That's just pure speculation on my part. But again, my friends, the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, etc., the intelligence community, they will do this at times, my friends. And they will embed high intelligent people at times in high academic positions. They will groom them. And I believe they used possibly Kirk for this example, my friends. He was all in the public. He had this so-called movement. What was it? 10-Point USA? I forget the name of the damn thing. But anyway, it wasn't a powerful bottoms-up movement, everyone. But I do give some of those young people that followed Kirk, I give them credit. Some of the young people, they did want to change the world, I believe, for the better, my friends. Absolutely they did. But Kirk, I don't believe, in any shape or form, he was not trying to help change this world for the better, my friends. Not really. Again, because if you have, what do you have, over 3 million, about 3 million followers, you should be discussing the U.S. Bill of Rights, actual law, man, that protects us, that our rights, our human rights and fundamental freedoms, they're inalienable. They come to us by God, just like in Canada, my friends. That's what the U.S. Bill of Rights represents. He was mum on it, as far as I know. If I'm wrong, please tell me, everyone. He never talked about the First and Second Amendment and stand behind that. But you know what? Again, he just had some interesting conversations at times. And I'm not saying Kirk was evil or anything like that, everyone. But you got to wonder, you got to question, was Kirk like a CIA asset? Was he part of the intelligence community? He had 3 million followers. Did he sell out to Israel? Did he sell out to Netanyahu and the gang? Did he sell out to, we'll call it EHOP? Did he sell out to EHOP? Well, he was pro-Israel again all this time, everyone. And then all of a sudden, a month before this, he started to ask the obvious questions. And I think we know the answers. He alluded to the gliders. Again, coming into, how can you attack Israel? He said in so many words, when he described the security of Israel, my friends. It's like a fortress, right? So that's when he said, was there a government stand-down order? And there was this massacre of beautiful, innocent Israeli people, my friends. So what the hell is going on? You know? But again, Kirk didn't bring all this up, as far as I know, everyone, until a month before this disappearance. Okay, folks, I think this was pre-planned. I think it was pre-planned for Kirk to actually question Israel, question Netanyahu and some of these elites. And then they knew that they were going to stage this, do this operation, do an extraction, pretend that, he's been shot and he's unalived, and get him out the back door. This is how these things work, my friends. In my opinion, sure. I mean, just look throughout history, folks. I don't see anybody coming on the live here. What the hell is going on? I should have good internet. There shouldn't be any issues. Feel free to leave me a comment, folks. Join me on the live. Eventually, hopefully I'll do more YouTube lives. Eventually I want to get StreamYard and invite some guests. I'd love to discuss. These are important issues, folks. What happened to Charlie Kirk. This is important. Again, Kirk had over 3 million followers, folks. He had some interesting conversations with people. But I think Kirk tried to almost represent himself as if he was this big change agent. But he wasn't, everyone, because again, you would discuss the U.S. Bill of Rights, in my opinion. You got to do that. And by the way, my friends, many, many people have said that his beautiful wife, remember, she's at the casket. And I think this is all part of the theater, my friends. She's kissing supposedly his hands. But makeup, I've discussed with makeup artists, they think it doesn't look real. It doesn't look real. Was that just more the theater, my friends? And again, you got to ask yourself, the wife, supposedly, she's seen her husband in this, if you believe it, to be this brutal, unaliving with shot in the neck, right? Supposedly from a bullet. What a bunch of nonsense. But anyway, and by the way, my friends, Kirk, if it was any high caliber gun, right, would have to be some sort of high caliber gun to make you think, because to kill him, to unalive him, but he would be blown off the chair, my friends. He'd be blown forward or he'd be blown back. And none of that happened, my friends. It's literally on video. I was just in an interview where everybody could see it. The security guard, one of his security detail, they rushed towards Kirk while he's sitting on the chair, and they pushed him. They pushed him off on the ground, my friends. It's all theater. Do you understand? In my opinion, it's all theater, my friends. Don't allow yourself to be hoodwinked by this nonsense, okay? Again, some of the elites, they just think you're so stupid out there, and I know most of you are not, okay? And you don't have to be brainwashed and mind-controlled. And if you are, I hope I'm breaking out some people that are brainwashed. But again, my friends, I think there's questions about this wife, Was she part of a setup of the intelligence community, setting up the marriage of Kirk and the wife? I might be wrong, but again, my friends, Kirk has been at this speaking since he was, 15 years old, right? You got to wonder. 15 years old. So was he part of the intelligence community? Did they have him out there and now is Kirk being used as the perfect distraction? This is a lot of distraction from other important issues, isn't it, folks? With people constantly, even myself, now we're discussing the supposed assassination of this guy. You got to wonder, my friends, right? A lot of YouTubers are asking a lot of questions. Some of the questions that I've just posed today. And I think it's good, though. We want to get to the truth. And I think, my friends, what a lot of YouTubers fail short, a lot of YouTubers, there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation agents, so at times on YouTube, right? There's a lot of grifters. They want to go over, the ballistics. Where did the shooter fire? Or this shooter couldn't have done it from here. It had to have been over here. But they don't tell you, what they don't tell you, my friends, they don't tell you the whole truth, in my opinion. That Kirk is alive. It was a staging. There was no real bullet that took this guy out. There couldn't have been. Just look, again, my friends, any high caliber gun, this Kirk would have been blown off his chair. I don't want to sound too morbid. Or he would have been blown forward. You don't sit in a chair, get hit in the neck, and then you just, rock back? And as some people said, my friends, it's speculation, but did the feds, did they do a shock a remote control where they actually shock Kirk with some sort of under his, whatever's under his shirt, to shock him, not kill him, shock him, so he goes out, and then you got a pellet hitting him or whatever the hell hit him, and then again, you get him out the back door. And again, my friends, when they actually handled the guy from the ground, when they brought him back to the camera from the ground up, he didn't have a Freedom logo. It couldn't have been Kirk, folks. How could it be Kirk if he doesn't have the Freedom logo? You see, the feds, my friends, they almost do that. I wonder if they do some of this on purpose, because it's such a lousy PSYOP that they did. And the YouTuber that I was just interviewed the other day, my friends, he showed you the shoes of the guy they lifted off the ground and they're handling, supposedly Kirk. The shoes were completely clean. There was no grass on them, and Kirk was walking on the grass. Folks, it is so wild. The rabbit hole goes so deep, but I'm telling you, my friends, Kirk has got to be alive. And this is good news. It's good news for Kirk. It's good news for his family. And again, I wonder, did elements of CIA set up for Kirk to even be married? I don't know, but sometimes they do that, folks. I'm just saying, okay? But trust me, my friends, in my opinion, that wife, she's not having to mourn the loss of her husband. No way. She knows he's gone out the back door probably, and they'll live a beautiful beach life. Yes, they will. They'll have a beautiful life. Kirk is protected. He is gone, my friends, but he's not unalived. And that's what I want to convey today. These are my opinions, but I think the facts back it up. A lot of people, or more people, are starting to say this. I wish more actual YouTube creators would have the courage and just the decency and tell it like it is. Kirk has got to be extracted. He's got to be alive. And the jet plane, my friends, more circumstantial evidence. The jet plane that many people have talked about had no transponders on it, okay? Now, some people will think, oh, well, that's where they carried off the assassin, to get him escaping. No, that would be Kirk on that plane, most likely, my friends. And by the way, that plane, it left about 6 hours later after the so-called assassination event, right, my friends? Well, it takes about 6 hours apparently to drive to the airport where Kirk was and all his fans, right, folks? You better believe that Kirk went through that trap door, I believe, under the grass. This was all pre-planned, folks. The feds did it, and he went into that plane. They drove it to the airport. He probably went underground, maybe even an underground base for all we know. But they got him to the airport. My friends, the feds do this. This is their job, everyone. Okay, and again, legally, the feds can do this. They can stage a violent event, my friends. Right or wrong, they can do it, okay, at times. So thank you for listening, everyone. I'm not getting more comments that I can see on the screen for some reason. I'm not sure why. Hope it's not censorship of any kind. But yeah, I got to go, my friends. Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully I'll post this later. And by the way, when I talk about the intelligence community, they never have to be angry at me because not all of them are bad. We know largely the system can be very corrupt, like elements of the FBI, CIA. They need to be overhauled, right? There's a lot of corruption, but they're not all bad. There's some good still people that work in these job positions, everyone, and they need to be commended, or should be, right? And especially the U.S. military, our amazing Canadian military as well. I want to thank all our men and all the good men and women that serve their country admirably and go, literally, so many of them go worldwide that we don't even hear about, protecting their own countries abroad, doing amazing duties. So I want to thank all them and many of the defense contractors out there, and I could go on and on. But thank you guys and gals for listening. Appreciate it. And I've just given my opinions of what I think went down with Charlie Kirk. And I think the good news is, again, my friends, it was not an unaliving. It was all staging largely. It was all theater. He would have been out the back door. This was all pre-planned. And Kirk will be living a beach lifestyle somewhere, my friends. You don't have to be sad. And the wife, I believe, it would be all acting on her part, in my opinion. Okay? Thanks, everyone. Take care. God bless you. It's Jason. Now I got to remember how to and the live.